Hi, it's Tanya with Red Cardinal Crafts, and today I'm going to show you guys how you can try bobbin lace without having to buy any supplies. This is just stuff you should have around your house. You need a piece of cardboard. Just get something from a box or something. This is like, I think it's almost like a 12 by 12 square. It came in a package or something. I don't know where I actually got that. You'll need a cushion, like something you'd have on your couch, like a throw cushion, something with a zipper. And what we're going to do is place the cardboard inside the pillow. So you have the pillow part, you have your cardboard, and then you have your pillow. And you can zipper that closed. And then we kind of have a surface that we can work with and pin our pattern to, and then poke some pins into it. You're also going to need some thread. You could use a really thin yarn. If that's all you have, you can use really thin string. This is like a size 8 embroidery thread. I wouldn't use like thread like you would sew with. You need something a little bit thicker than that. This is like a size 8 thread. You could use like some cross-stitch thread. That might work. Let me see, I've got some cross-stitch stuff here. This is like 2 cross-stitch threads. That would work. You could try that. If you want it thicker, just use the whole thing of cross-stitch threads, like all 6 pieces. Okay, so you need thread, and then you need clothespins. These kind of clothespins. You'll need a total of 16 of these because we're going to make 8 pairs of bobbins. And you need some pins. Just little pins that you would use for sewing. You'll need like a handful of those. Let's say 24, 25 pins. And yeah, so let me flip the camera. Oh, and the pattern. It's kind of important. I have this pattern available on my website. The link is down below. I'll put it up there for like $2. I don't know if we could figure it out on graph paper because it doesn't really match up. But let me do this. Let me get close to the screen and you can trace it. So there is the whole stitch that we're going to learn. So just put a piece of paper up to your computer screen and go through it. The half stitch is the same one. Then we have rose ground, which looks like that, and actually mark the X's. So just pause the video and trace that. You'll want a copy of this, which is the order that we do the rose ground in. So again, pause your thing. And then for this one, this is the spider. So it's a little more involved, but again, just hold your paper up to the screen and trace it. All right, there you go. And I'll also put it on my website for $2 if you wanna do that. And someone is FaceTiming me. Of course someone's FaceTiming me. It's like a little sensor goes off to my family and says, Tanya's making a video. Call her now. Hey guys, before we get started, I just want to say a couple things. The other day I did a bobbin lace square mat video, and near the end of the video I talk about these magnifying glasses, and I mentioned that there was a company that used clips from my review video that I did on those, and they used those clips without my permission, and there was clips of me and my daughter when I was doing the review of those, and I contacted the company and they took the ad down, they changed the ad, they sent it back to me and showed me that we're not in the ad anymore, so it's all good. However, the next morning, I woke up in a panic and came flying down to my craft room because of something that I did wrong. And what I had done was, a few weeks ago, I switched everything from my Etsy shop over to my website, redcardinalcrafts.com. Link is down below. But I switched everything over to my website. And one of the parts that I added was bobbin lace patterns, and I listed them in my shop. And I looked at my patterns and I was like, well, that's weird. Why didn't I ever list the one for video 123? So I listed that pattern. And then that's what I panicked about, because I was like, oh my gosh, because I watched the pattern video, and at the beginning I say, I can't list this pattern because it's not mine to list. It's a Geraldine Stott pattern, and it comes from her book. I think it's the Manual of Bobbin Lace, or the Bobbin Lace Manual. I should probably look that up. Anyway, if I'm wrong, I'll insert the name of it. But I didn't post it ever in my Etsy shop because it was her pattern and it was not mine to sell. Years later, a few weeks ago, I forget that and I end up putting it into my shop on my website. So I came flying downstairs, immediately took it off my site, and then I looked back at the sales that I have done since I put up those bobbin lace patterns, and 4 people had purchased the pattern. So what I did was I went on and I refunded them the money. It was like $4 for the pattern, and I refunded 4 people because they were the only ones that in the few weeks have bought that pattern. So I refunded the money. So if you're watching this and you're wondering why you're getting emails from me at 4:30 in the morning, that's what I was doing. So check your PayPal. I refunded you the price of the pattern because you shouldn't be paying for something that I shouldn't even be selling. So they now have the pattern because it was a digital download, so they do have it. My bad. But I refunded the money to them, and I've since taken it out of my shop. So the other ones I have, my teacher had made for me and put together for me so I could learn bobbin lace. So I've put those ones up, and they're in my shop. And the one that I'm going to do today will be in my shop as well. And this one's just going to be like bobbin lace beginner stitches or something. I forget what I'm going to call it. I'll say it at the end of the video. But anyway, so yeah, just wanted to tell you guys that. And now let's learn some bobbin lace. Okay. Okay, so you have your pillow, and you just want to have the piece of cardboard inside it and on top. You're going to take your pattern and just pin your pattern as close to the top as you can so that when you get to these patterns down below, you're not too far off the pillow with your bobbins. And I'm just going to pin this. I can feel the cardboard in underneath. And I didn't do a pricking. To do a pricking is you pre-prick these holes, but there's not like a lot of holes. So with bobbin lace, these are my actual bobbins. I made this little thing to keep them in here, and these are the bobbins that I got from SnowGooseLace.com. And then I have some extra ones at the end that my lace teacher had given me that she used to let me use when I needed more bobbins for a pattern. And then when I was leaving Bermuda, she let me pick some of hers to keep. So I'm just going to use this to prop under my pillow, and that just brings it at a little bit of an angle so I can work a little bit better. And I have my pins on a little pin cushion. I'm just going to keep it off to the side here. And like I said, you're going to need some clothespins. So what you do with the clothespins is you take your thing of yarn, and I'm just going to hold it in one hand here, hold it in the other hand, and just stretch it out as far as my arms will go, like my arm span. And for me, it's about, I don't know, 58, 60 inches or so. So take the ends of your thread, and you're just going to pull till you find the midpoint. And what you do is you just separate your ends like this. You're going to take an end and you're going to wrap it around your clothespin. So you're going to take about half of it and wrap it around your clothespin. And then you're just going to pinch it in your clothespin. Then take the other one and do the same thing to the other end of the thread. Did I call it yarn earlier? I mean thread if I've said yarn by mistake. And you just pinch, and there is your pair of bobbins. Okay, so you're going to need, for this first one, you're going to need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So the red dots that I've put on each of these patterns, those just represent where your pins start, where your bobbins start. So those are just little starter pins. So we're going to start up here with the hole stitch, and I'll just zoom in a little bit till you see what I'm doing here. Now I have numbers on these. That just means how many pairs of bobbins you're going to put on that pin. So when you put your pins in, you're not poking them all the way down in. You're pushing them in, and you're leaving them at a little bit of an angle so that your bobbins don't fall off. You don't want them just straight up and down, or your bobbins are going to fall forward. So you want to put one pin in each of those red dots. Whoop. And get your bobbins all wound. Like I said, you're going to need 16 clothespins because you're going to make 8 pairs of bobbins. So this is a pair. So I'm going to put 1 pair over each of these pins, and then the one at the top says 2. So you want to put 2 pairs of bobbins over that pin. And my thread is like a variegated thread, so you're going to see some light greens and dark greens. And when you print out your pattern, do it on like a cardstock. It's okay if it's white. Traditionally, it's usually green or blue. It's just easier on your eyes. But yeah, whatever color cardstock you have, you just want like a thicker paper, not just regular paper. But I was doing a test the other day and I did use just regular paper. So you can do that if that's what you have. Okay, so I'm going to zoom out a little bit for a second. And I'm going to show you what you do with each pair of your bobbins. So your bobbin is over your pin like this. You're just going to give each pair a twist. So you just want one little twist. So you're just crossing them over each other. And with the 2 pairs coming off the top, you want to make sure that you actually have the right pairs. So if I pull on this one, and that's the one, that's the clothespin that's going up, that's the pair. So just give everything a twist to get started. Okay, now I'm going to zoom out so you see what I'm doing with the bobbins. Okay, so I have 1, 2, 3 pairs of bobbins I'm going to push off to the side. Now I use these large corsage pins to keep my bobbins off to the side. If you don't have those, that's okay. And then I'm going to keep these 2 pair in the middle and then move these ones over to the side, because we don't need those yet. Okay, so for these first ones, we're going to do a hole stitch. This is what we're learning, is hole stitch. So you have 1 pair of bobbins here, 1 pair here. You're going to jump them over each other, and I always go 1, 2, 3. So this is the move. 1, 2, 3. So you've basically taken this pair of bobbins that was over here and jumped them over that way. I'll do that again for you. So we go 1, 2, 3. So in that first one, you're only bringing 1 bobbin over. You're going 1, you're bringing both of these over together, and then this one over. And that is your hole stitch. Okay, so we've done our hole stitch, and now we are going to pin in that top hole right there. And you want your threads going around the top of that pin. So let me just zoom in so you can see that. Right like that. So I'm going to undo mine just so you can see where I'm putting the pin. So I'm just going to undo. Alright, so I'm doing the hole stitch. So this is what your threads are going to look like. 1, 2, 3. And then we pin in between the pairs of bobbins. And we go straight up underneath and pin in that hole and just wiggle your threads a little bit. And then we're going to do that hole stitch move again. We're going to go 1, 2, 3, and that's called covering your pin, because now the thread wraps around the pin, because before that it was exposed. Then we're just going to do a twist. So what you do with that is you just take those bobbins and you just do a twist like that at the end. So that's hole stitch and a twist, and just pull your bobbins a little bit just to snug that up against that pin. Okay? Now that we have that in there, we can take out that starter pin from the red dot. So take out that first pin. I'm going to zoom in again so you can see what that's actually doing. So I took the pin out that was up here for number 2, and I'm just going to wiggle my threads until that little knot comes out. Okay? Because this, where the black holes are, that's where our pattern actually is. These are just to get our bobbins started. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to take this pair out of here. We're going to pin that off to the side. So you should, over on the right, have 1, 2, 3, 4 pairs of bobbins. Okay? My thing keeps falling out there. All right. So now what we're going to do is we're going to take this pair that we were working with and we're going to bring in a pair. So leave these other 2 pairs of bobbins over here. We got 1, 2, 3, 4 actual clothespins over here. We're going to bring in this set. It already has our twist, and we're going to do our hole stitch again. So 1, 2, 3, and now we're going to pin in the hole that's coming down on the diagonal over here on the left hand side. We're going to wiggle and just pull your bobbins, and we're going to cover our pin by doing a hole stitch. So 1, 2, 3, and twist. Okay, now that we have that pin in, you can take out that other starter pin. And you're just going to pull on your bobbins, wiggle a little bit, and get that little bump out of there. We're going to move this pair over. So now you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pairs over here. We're going to bring this one down. We're going to bring a new pair in from that side on the left. And again, hole stitch. 1, 2, 3. We're going to pin in that next hole coming down the diagonal. Wiggle. 1, 2, 3, and twist. Okay, move that one off to the side. It's okay if you poke your pattern, that's fine. And then bring in that last pair. Make sure it has a twist to it, and you're going to do hole stitch. 1, 2, 3. And pin, if I can get a hold of a pin, here we go. And pin in that last diagonal, going there. 1, 2, 3, and twist. Now, yes, I did forget to take this other starter pin out, but that's okay. Just take that one out, and just give everything a little tug, and take that last one out, and give everything a little tug. If you get too far in your pattern, you won't be able to get that knot out. So try to remember to do it. Okay, now we're going to go back and bring in the ones over from the right hand side. So we're going to move 1, 2, 3, 4 pairs out. Okay, so we've got 4 pairs over here on the left. 1, 2, 3, 4 pairs. We're going to bring down this pair and bring down the next pair. So we have these 2 here, and we have 2 pairs of bobbins over here on the right hand side. We're going to bring that one in, make sure it has a twist. 1, 2, 3. Don't do your twist until after you pin and hole stitch again. So pin, wiggle, hole stitch. 1, 2, 3, and twist. And just snug everything up. Don't pull anything off your pins. Take out that starter pin and give everything a little wiggle. All right, move that pair that's on the left over, bring this one down, bring a pair from this side, and we're going to go 1, 2, 3. We're going to pin coming down that diagonal on the right, wiggle, 1, 2, 3, and twist. And then take out that starter pin. Move this pair over to the left and bring in the last pair that you have. And we're going to go 1, 2, 3, and pin, wiggle, and then 1, 2, 3, and twist. And then take out that final starter pin. And there we go. So now we're going to move 1, 2, 3 pairs over to the right, and just put them out of the way for a minute. We're going to bring down the next pair and the next pair. Okay, so on either side you have 3 pairs of bobbins to the right and 3 pairs to the left. Sorry, got my directions mixed up. So 3 pairs on the right, 3 pairs on the left, and you have the 2 pairs in the center. And we're going to do that center top hole right there. So hole stitch, 1, 2, 3. We're going to pin at the top, wiggle, and then hole stitch. 1, 2, 3, and twist. Good. All right, pin that pair out of the way. Bring in a pair from the left. Everything should have a twist to it. Hole stitch. 1, 2, 3. And we're going to pin. We're still coming down the diagonal. We did the top center circle, but now we're coming down on the diagonal there. 1, 2, 3, and twist. Okay, and move this pair out. And we're going to bring this one in, and we're going to go 1, 2, 3, and pin, wiggle, 1, 2, 3, and twist. Now, this pair here, we're just leaving that. Our pattern is just, we're just doing this part of the pattern, so this guy would normally come down and the pattern would be long and everything, but that's not what's happening with this one. So just leave that one off to the side. Now that we've done this one, we're going to move this one off to the side, so we have 2 pairs over here. And just pin those out of the way. We're going to go back to the top again, so we're going to move 1, 2 pairs over. We're going to bring down this 3rd pair and the next pair. Okay, so we have 2 pairs over here to the right. We're using these 2 here, and we've got 2 pairs pinned way over here to the left, and we have 2 pairs over here waiting to be used. And we're going to do this diagonal over here. So we're going to go 1, 2, 3, and pin, wiggle, 1, 2, 3, and twist. Okay, just move this pair over to the left for a minute. Bring in this pair from the right. 1, 2, 3. Pin, wiggle. 1, 2, 3, and twist. All right. So now we're going to throw this pair out over with this guy. So we've got 1, 2 pairs over here to the right. We're going to bring this set over. We're going to bring this set over. So this guy is just over here for now. I'm going to bring these 2 in. So we have 2 pairs over here. We have another 2 pairs, and we're bringing in these center ones. We're going to hole stitch in that little dot right there. 1, 2, 3. We are going to pin, wiggle, 1, 2, 3, and twist. I'm going to slide this pair over. We're going to bring this one down and do that next one coming down the diagonal. 1, 2, 3, and pin, wiggle, 1, 2, 3, and twist. Slide these 2 over, bring these 2 in. We're going to do that one that's coming down the diagonal. 1, 2, 3. Pin, wiggle, 1, 2, 3, and twist. There you go. And now bring down the center pairs, and we'll finish it off. 1, 2, 3. Pin, wiggle, 1, 2, 3, twist. And there you go. There is our beautiful hole stitch right in there. And I mean, when you're doing a pattern, your threads might be a little bit closer together, and the pattern might be a little bit tinier, but that's basically it. And the way you know you've done this right is that coming off of this bottom pin that we've done, we have 2 pairs of bobbins coming off it. But off of this next pin, we have a pair of bobbins. Off this pin, we have a pair of bobbins, and off this pin, we have a pair of bobbins. Same with the other side. There's a pair coming off of that pin, a pair coming off of that one, and a pair coming off of that one. So that's how you know that with this pattern you've done this correctly, because you have bobbins that you can work with that are coming off of each pin. Okay, so now to do reverse bobbin lace, because that's what you'll have to do if you make a mistake, you just undo it. So we just move it, you twist it, and you undo like this. And then once you can see the pin's not covered anymore, you can take the pin out, and then you just undo like that. Go to the next pair of bobbins that you see that are together, and you just undo everything. I can now see the pin. I can take the pin out. Do not take out all these pins in one big lump and go, oh, fine, I'll just start over. Do it in a specific order, and then you won't have a complete mess on your side. And then that way, if I've made a mistake up here, well, I don't need to undo everything that's over on this side. I can just work my way back up on this side and go up to my mistake. Like this. And just untwist. And you can see from the threads which order they're twisted in. And then I can get all the way up over here and get to this corner without having to disturb all your work over on this side. Alright, and then we can take that pin out, and so on and so on. And see, now that I took that pin out, that pair of bobbins is now free, because that's the one that started on that starter pin over there. So I'm just going to put the starter pin back in and go like that. And if I was coming down here and I realized I had messed that up, you just go back into your hole stitch, 1, 2, 3, pin, wiggle, hole stitch, and twist, and we just take that starter pin out and we're back to where we started. Okay, so just undo, just so you don't need 1,000 pairs of these bobbins laying around. We can just undo everything and we'll get ready, and what we can do is put our pins over here for half stitch, and half stitch is pretty much just like hole stitch. So if you want to keep using this one and you want to undo everything and just go up to the top, you can. I will tell you, when you get up to the very end and you have the last 2 pairs of bobbins that were together on that first starter pin, they're going to be a little extra twisted than all the other bobbins were. So don't panic, they're not in a knot, they're just twisted. So I'm just going to start moving my bobbins as I free them over here. I'm going to start moving them over to that new pattern that we're going to be working on. And I find bobbin lace it's so much easier than, like, say, knitting or something. If you make a mistake in knitting, sometimes, I mean, I'm not an expert knitter, so maybe it's harder for me than it would be for someone that really knows their knitting. But I find for this craft, it's really easy to undo. It's frustrating to have to do it, because it just means you've made a mistake, but it can be done. And it's not a huge deal. The only thing that would be problematic is if you pull too hard, like when we're doing the little wiggle thing, don't yank on the threads. You would not want to break the threads and have to join one halfway through your piece. I mean, it could happen, and you just tie one back on and somehow at the end try to hide, you know, the knot and everything from having to join a new thread, but not a big deal. Now we have another pair that we're going to bring over. So I'm going to fast forward now that you've seen what I've done. I'm just going to keep doing this and I'll come back and meet you over here at the half stitch. Okay, so I'm just up to this pair here and they just feel a little more knotted than the other ones were, but they're honestly just twisted. So we just do that, and we want to put this extra pair up over the top. Now for this half stitch, I'm not going to go through the whole pattern like we just did with the hole stitch, because it basically works the same way. Give everything a little twist at the beginning, and a hole stitch is basically the same as a half stitch, but with the half stitch we're not doing move number 3, if you will. Okay, so let's move everything off to the side, except for the 2 pairs that are coming off of that pin. Okay. I've got so much stuff on my desk right now. Okay, so you have twists done at the top like we did before. We have everything off to the side except for these 2. Now, a hole stitch, if you remember, we just went 1, 2, 3. Okay? A half stitch is just 1, 2. And that's it. We don't do this third move. Okay? So I'll show you again. Half stitch, 1, 2. If it was a whole stitch, 3. Alright? So we're just going to do a half stitch, and what half stitch does, it just makes it more open. A whole stitch, it looks more dense when it's all woven together, like especially if you're doing a zigzag. Your zigzag is going to be more weaving looking and open instead of really tightly woven with the whole stitch. My hands are freezing right now. Okay, so we're going to do half stitch. So 1, 2, and then we pin at the top, wiggle, and 1, 2, and there you go. And I don't twist with the half stitch, they're already twisted. Everything is good. Now we're just gonna bring in, oh, take out that starter pin, just wiggle that down. And things feel a little loose with the half stitch, so don't panic, it's supposed to feel that way. All right, bring in another pair, it has a twist to it, half stitch, 1, 2. And that's it. And then we're pinning, coming down this way. Half stitch again, 1, 2 to cover your pin. Take that pin out, wiggle, next pair, half stitch, 1, 2. Pin, half stitch to cover the pin, 1, 2. We're going to take out that starter pin, wiggle, and then we'll bring in this last pair from over this side, 1, 2. Pin, wiggle, 1, 2, and then take out that starter pin. And you're doing the same thing, you're just working your way back over, get over here till we get this pair that's coming off the bobbin, and we're bringing in a new pair from the left hand side, half stitch, 1, 2, and then pin going down that diagonal on the left. Make sure you're in between the pairs, and then 1, 2, bring in this pair, 1, 2, pin, 1, 2, and then take out those 2 starter pins. I forgot to take that other one out. Just give everything a little tug. You might have to pull on other bobbins to get the knot out, and then bring down that final pair, 1, 2. Pin, wiggle, 1, 2, take out that starter pin, give everything a little tug, and then again, you're just moving your way back up. We need to bring 2 pairs in for that little center hole, so you're going to bring in these 2 that are in the center, and you've got 1, 2, 3 off to the left, and 1, 2, 3 pairs off to the right. And then half stitch, 1, 2, pin, 1, 2. And there you go. And it's pretty much going to look the same as whole stitch. It's more when you're doing a zigzag pattern, which it's working its way all the way back and forth. All right, so let's just undo this and we will go down to our rose ground. Okay, when we get to rose ground, you'll see this thing up here that I did that says rose ground order. So basically it's a square, and it's going to be left with like a little diamond shape in the middle because our threads are going to go around the square. I have X's in the corners and then dots in the centers of the square, basically. So you want to start with 1, and we'll do the threads for that. Then we go to 2, then you do the center one, which is 3, 4, 5, into the center for 6, and then 7, and then 8. Okay, I've done X's in the corners just because I think that helps just stay a little bit organized. I just realized I need another pair of bobbins. Hang on. All right, I just had an extra pair over here. Okay, so for rose ground, you're going to give everything a twist to get started. And if your threads are too short, just unwind them a little bit and then pinch them back in your clothespin. This one keeps unwinding. A moment, please. All right. Okay, so give everything a twist to get started. All right, we are going to use the 2 pair over here on the left, and with rose ground we're going to do whole stitch. So we are going to go 1, 2, 3, and we are going to pin on the first X that's in spot number 1. Okay, then we're going to do whole stitch again, 1, 2, 3, and twist. Okay. Okay, now leave these pairs over here. I'm just going to go out wide so you can see a little bit better. We're going to bring these 2 pair down from the right. We're going to do 1, 2, 3. We're doing hole stitch for this whole thing. We're going to pin on the other X, that's for spot number 2. Hole stitch, 1, 2, 3, and twist. Now, take your outside pairs, get them out of the way. We're bringing these 2 in to do dot number 3. Hole stitch, 1, 2, 3. We're going to pin, wiggle, hole stitch, and twist. Now, these starter pins I'm not going to take out because generally if you're in a rose ground pattern, you're going to have bobbins coming off of pins. So it's almost like we're in the middle of a pattern, if you will. So you can just leave the starter pins on there. All right, we're going to move this pair over. So we have the 2 pairs over here on the right. We're going to bring these ones in to do spot number 4. 1, 2, 3. Pin on dot number 4. And then 1, 2, 3, and twist. Move those 2 out of the way. Bring these 2 down from the right. We're going to do dot number 5. 1, 2, 3. And pin on the dot. Wiggle. 1, 2, 3, and twist. All right. Leave these pairs out to the side. We're bringing down the center pairs. 1, 2, 3. Pin on the dot, which is space number 6. Wiggle. 1, 2, 3, and twist. And again, I have these patterns pretty big, just so you can see what we're doing. But it'll be really small when you do it on your on an actual pattern. All right, bring in the 2 pairs for the left. 1, 2, 3. We're doing spot number 7 there on the X in the corner. And pin. 1, 2, 3, and twist. And then move those 2 out of the way. Bring these 2 pair down, and 1, 2, 3. Pin on X in spot 8. And then 1, 2, 3, and twist. And there's your rose crown. How fun is this? Isn't that cool? Alrighty. So now undo everything so you have all your bobbins back. And I will meet you over here with our spider. So just pin, you need 8 pins to get started on those red dots. So I will finish untwisting here and I'll catch up to you in a minute. Alright, I'm back with the spider. So you just have 1 pair of bobbins over each of these starter pins where they're the red dots and it says 1. It just means you put 1 pair of bobbins over each of those pins. Give everything a twist. Make sure they all have a twist over them to get started. Alright, so we're going to move 3 pairs off to the left and 3 pairs off to the right, and we're going to get started with these center pairs. Just make sure they each have a twist, and we're going to go into that first dot at the top. So 1, 2, 3, we're doing hole stitch, and pin, whoop, and then hole stitch and a twist. Now before you forget, take those starter pins out. It's just better to take them out and you don't have to worry about them later. So we just want to wiggle everything and get that knot out of there. We're going to move this pair over to the right. We're going to bring in the next pair here. So we still have 2 pairs over here to the left and we have these ones here. This one coming off the center and we're bringing in a new pair over here. And we're just going to work our way down this diagonal. Okay? So 1, 2, 3, and then pin, 1, 2, 3, and twist. Take out that next starter pin from the pair you just brought in. My bobbin feels a little long on this side. Okay. The clothespins are actually really cool. Okay, bring in another pair from the left, move this pair over from the right. Okay, so here's pair 1, then we have 2 and 3. So we're using 2 and 3 right now. 1, 2, 3. We're going to pin coming down that diagonal. 1, 2, 3, and twist. Take out that starter pin, and then bring in this last pair over here. 1, 2, 3. Pin. 1, 2, 3, twist. And then take out that starter pin over there. Okay. Now I'm taking them out here. You wouldn't normally take those out because it would be part of a bigger pattern, and unless your pattern's starting with a spider, and then you wouldn't. You would take out the starter pins. But if you're in the middle of a pattern, don't take those pins out. This is just to get us started. Okay, so you want to move 1, 2, 3, 4 pairs over to the left. We're going to bring in this next pair, and we're going to bring in one more pair from the right hand side. Okay. Make sure everything has a twist, and we're going to do 1, 2, 3. We're going to pin coming down that right side on the diagonal. 1, 2, 3, twist, and pull out your pin, wiggle, and move that pair over to the left. So now you have 5 pairs over here on the left hand side. You're going to use this one, and you're going to bring in a pair from the right. 1, 2, 3. Pin, 1, 2, 3, twist. Take out that starter pin. And then just move this pair over, so you've got 6 over this side. You're bringing in these 2 pairs over here. 1, 2, 3. Pin, 1, 2, 3, twist. And take out that starter pin. Alright, so we're going to move 1 pair over here to the right. We're going to move 2 pairs over here to the right. Okay, so we have 2 pairs pinned over on this side. And then we're bringing 1, 2, 3, 4 pairs in. Okay, so we have 2 off to the left, and we have 2 pairs over here to the right. These center ones, these are going to be our spider legs, and you want to give a twist to these. So they already have 1 twist to them, but you want a total of 3 twists. So this one, I'm just going to undo it so I can count properly and make sure I have the right amount of twists. So I'm just going to go 1, 2, 3. Same with this one. I'm going to go 1, 2, 3. Do it to the next pair. 1, 2, 3. Of course, my bobbin's unraveling. And then do it to this last pair over here. So 1, 2, 3. Alright, so we've just twisted all of our spider legs. Okay, now we're doing hole stitch, but we're going to get these 2 pairs of bobbins to basically jump over and get in this position, and these 2 are going to go over this way. Alright, so you have pair 1, 2, 3, 4. You're going to work with pair 2. You're going to take pair 3, and you're just going to do a hole stitch. 1, 2, 3. So now this is where pair 2 is now. It's in spot number 3. So you have 1, 2, 3 because this pair just came over. So now we're going to do hole stitch through this pair. 1, 2, 3. So it's basically jumped all the way across over to here. So it's now in spot 4. So we have pair 1, 2, 3, 4. We're going to do the same thing with pair number 1. We're going to do hole stitch through this second pair. 1, 2, 3. It's now in spot 2. We're going to do hole stitch through the third pair. 1, 2, 3. So there we go, and you can see that it's woven across. So these 2 pairs went from here to there, and these 2 went from here to there. So they've crossed paths. And what you're going to do is you're going to pull on these and scrunch the threads up as best you can. We're going to pin, and you might have to lift your threads a little bit and just pin in that center spot right in the middle of the spider. Just wiggle everything down, and it's going to curl around that pin. And now we're going to do the same move. We're going to take the second pair and work its way over. So we're going to go 1, 2, 3. Notice I didn't twist anything right now. 1, 2, 3. We're still weaving everything together. All right, now we're going to go over to the first pair and bring it through these 2 pairs here. So whole stitch, 1, 2, 3. Keep going with it. 1, 2, 3. There you go. So they've basically crossed paths and made this really cool design, but you'll see that in a minute. So now take each of your pairs, each of these 4 pairs, and you're going to twist them 3 times again. So 1, 2, 3. The next pair, 1, 2, 3. The next ones, 1, 2, 3. And then these ones, 1, 2, 3. All right, so now we have our spider legs all ready to go. Move 3 of the pairs over here to the right for a minute and just leave them still separated with a pin. We're going to use them in a minute. Bring this first pair of spider legs and bring in another pair from the left. And we're going to come over and do this dot right here coming down. So we do 1, 2, 3. We're doing a whole stitch. We're going to pin in that spot. We're going to wiggle, and we're going to do whole stitch. 1, 2, 3, and twist. All right, now we're going to move these over. Move that second pair out of there. So we have 2 pairs over here to the left. We're going to bring in the other spider legs over here with this pair, and we're going to do a whole stitch. 1, 2, 3. We're going to pin in that next hole. We're going to wiggle, and we're going to whole stitch. 1, 2, 3, and twist. And my bobbin's coming undone here. All right, so now just leave these for a minute. We're going to move over, so you're going to pin out 1, 2, 3 pairs. We're going to need this 4th pair in a minute, so just leave that there. We're going to slide, so we have a total of 4 pairs over here. We're going to bring back 1, 2, 3 pairs. Leave this one still out of the way. And with this pair and this pair, we're going to come together and make that dot there. So 1, 2, 3. We're going to pin. Cover your pin. 1, 2, 3, and twist. Just tuck that pair out of there for a minute. Bring in these 2 pairs. 1, 2, 3 for your whole stitch. And pin, wiggle, 1, 2, 3, and twist, and move that pair out. So we have 3 pairs off to the right, we have 3 pairs off to the left. We're going to bring down the center pair and finish that bottom circle. 1, 2, 3, and we're going to pin, wiggle, 1, 2, 3, and twist. And there is your spider. Let's just zoom in and see how fabulous that looks. Isn't that cool? So it just kind of makes like a sort of a teardrop diamond, kind of rounded diamond shape. So there's your spider. So there you go, guys. Those are some basic stitches to get you started. You don't need to go out and buy $100 worth of supplies right now, especially during COVID right now. Packages, bobbin lace is not going to be considered a priority package. So yeah, I would just grab some clothespins, grab some string, get a pillow, a piece of cardboard, some pins, and you can download the pattern from my website, redcardinalcrafts.com. The link is down below. Check it out. Just scroll through my stuff and you'll see bobbin lace patterns, and I'll have this one on here. I'll call it beginner bobbin lace stitches or something. Alrighty, so I hope that helped you guys, and I hope that gives some interest to people that have watched these videos before and feel maybe a little intimidated by them and think it's too much, and the bobbins and the whole thing. But yeah, if you're ready to move on at some point, what I'll do is I will put a link for Snowgoose lace, and I'll put the link directly to the pillow that I own, like the kit that I bought. The only thing I don't like about the kit is that the thread that they give you is really thick. I think it's like a size 20 and this is like a size 8. I just find it way too thick. But you get 24 bobbins, you get the pillow. You'll see in some of my videos I use these cloths. These were it was just cotton that I bought, and I washed it and shrunk it, and then I bleached it to a light blue. I have 4 of those. They're just a great big square. They measure, let me just measure for you. They're about 18 inches square, and I just hemmed the seams And then you use that to kind of cover up your pattern and stuff. You'll see that I use those in another video. But yeah, get a piece of cardboard, stick it in a pillow that, you know, you don't mind sticking pins into, and just lay the pattern on it, get some clothespins and some thread, and you're good to go. You can practice bobbin lace and see if you like it before you ever go out and actually buy the supplies. So thank you so much for watching, guys, and I hope you liked this video. If you did, give it a thumbs up, and don't forget to like and subscribe, and yeah, I hope you enjoyed it. All right, I'll be back with some more videos soon. All right, take care, guys. See ya.